Jikulumessu came under some hot water earlier
Yes.
this year, didn't it?
Yes.
Talk us through what happened.
Well, it was a very interesting chapter and a very trying one as well, because obviously, you know, we wrote the show because Jikulumessu, or Open Your Eyes, it's a like a police style drama, and it is very gritty, and we did a lot of research because we wanted to make sure that the stories we tell were based on reality, not necessarily real facts, or the characters were not based on real actual people. It wasn't a biographical story, but we wanted to make sure to reflect some of the themes that were most pertinent to Angolan people at that time, especially in Luanda, where the story took place. We took a lot of things, a lot of, I would say, sensitive subjects that I think a lot of people were not really ready to face, because we talked about uncomfortable subject matters, such as rape or sort of you know, youth using drugs, and we didn't really sugarcoat it. We tried to show it in a very realistic way, and I think that made a lot of people uncomfortable. And obviously, we got temporarily censored or pulled from the air because we had a character, because of course one of the big themes that we had on the show was infidelity. And of course when we're talking about infidelity, we're trying to show various kinds. So we had one guy who had multiple families basically, but he had, you know, wives who didn't know about each other and children who didn't know that they had other siblings. And we had another case of infidelity, which was a gay man who was pretending to be straight because he wanted to, I would say, succeed and be perceived in a certain way in society. And of course, that was seen as controversial, especially because we had him and his lover sharing a kiss on camera. And, ironically enough, we have a lot of TV shows in Angolan TV who show that, but it's usually a foreign film or a foreign TV show. I think the fact that we were talking local reality, and that we're not talking about something that does not exist, but it is something that they had to deal with, I think it sort of shocked some people, because it was kind of like their secret was out in a way. So I think a lot of, I would say, organizations and institutions, and some of them religious, tried to use, sort of scapegoat that in a way, because we were aware that a lot of people were uncomfortable with some of the subject matter that was being treated. However, the feedback we were getting from the viewers was very different. Some of them were saying, yes, these are uncomfortable themes, but they do happen, and we're glad that, you know, they're being discussed, and we're creating an opportunity for people to see it on TV and then talk amongst themselves about it. And that's what ended up happening. So the show actually got censored.
What was it like for you as an artist, as a creative, to be censored in your own country?
Well, it was very painful, I must say. I was surprised at the way it had happened, because it was just a very abrupt thing. It was basically, the show was on. You know, there had been a lot of talk. In that particular case, actually, it was sort of like a slow build. So there was that, the kissing scene happened. People kind of discuss it, and they're very sort of, some were very excited. Most were very shocked that, you know, that they actually saw two Angolan guys kissing each other on TV. But then it sort of died down. But then all of a sudden, the uproar came back with a vengeance almost, and then it got canceled. And we were told, we found out on TV that it got canceled basically. They said due to technical difficulties, it will not be making a return.
Technical difficulties.
But yeah, but funny enough, a lot of fans of the show said, yes, we were shocked, but then like they started a petition online, and a lot of social media support was garnered, I think, by the fans, and thanks to them, the show came back later that week.
Do you think that Angolans needed this push to start the conversation around some topics that people don't usually talk about? Yeah,
because that's the thing. There's a lot of those themes, and a lot of things like that exist. Like, for example, very early on in my career, I did a lot of activism work around the fact that there's not proper, or there wasn't at least, proper attention and healthcare treatment for people who have substance abuse problems. And to some degree, that still exists, because when people have someone in the family who's an addict, rather than trying to approach it from a health perspective, some of them simply still try to pretend that it's not a problem, that it's not an issue. And the same thing happens with domestic violence. when people know that there's an abuser in the family who is beating their kids or their spouse, they're kind of pretend the problem doesn't happen. They say, oh yes, Uncle so-and-so has a bad temper, or my neighbor is upset because he got fired, or because his work is not going very well, or because he was in a bad mood that day. And they keep making those excuses instead of having a healthy debate about these subjects. So I think the healthy debate was happening. It's just the fact that, unfortunately, I do think that some institutions, some of them were religious and some of them were political, were trying to further their own agenda, and that was a scapegoat that they used. However, I'm also very thankful that although I was censored in my own country, that the public that has been supporting my work over the past years was also supportive enough to request whoever took it down to bring it back. And I think for that, myself and the whole team behind the project worked very passionately to make it happen, because it is not easy to produce TV in Angola.
Do you know who took it down?
Do I know who took it down? Well, it was taken down by the TV. I know that they had got a lot of pressure from certain religious groups, and I know there were a lot of religious groups, and there were certain other figures, like prominent figures of society, who went to media to sort of start a debate about that. And that's when I'm saying that it started out as they're talking about one topic, but then they were saying, oh yeah, and this also happened, and that also happened. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's TV. Unfortunately, when it's an American TV show or a Brazilian TV show or a show from any other country that shows the same themes, there's no discussion around it. However, when a locally homegrown company is trying to make content that reflects things that are happening in our own country, and some of them are things that happen in other places around the world, then all of a sudden they were accusing us of sort of trying to portray a reality that doesn't exist. Whereas, as I said, fortunately, the majority of consumers sort of voiced what their real opinion was, and a lot of them were saying that yes, I do know that either my kid or their classmates use drugs, and I'm very concerned about this. We need to talk about that. Or the fact that there are people who are, or pedophilia, for example, which was another theme that we discussed there, that was happening, or crime. So I think the fact that it made people uncomfortable also made them talk about it. Of course, I was not very happy with that particular chapter of things, but at the same time, I'm also very glad to see that that also gave the opportunity for there to be further discussion. And I've also been seeing a lot of local, my colleagues, a lot of other local directors, writers, etc., are taking more risks because they know that it is possible that their particular audience will support their work no matter no matter what. And I think sometimes that's all it takes.